Welcome to Skelton Neurocounseling. Today we're talking about screen time and the brain. I'm Mark Nathaniel Skelton, and I am an EMDR clinician, brain trainer, and a doctorate student in a clinical psychology program. And I say that all to say, I think the brain is super fascinating and fun. And so all I want to do is just share with you some of the stuff I've been learning in the public interest. So let me ask you a question. Are you a parent? Or maybe you have nieces and nephews? Or maybe you work with youth in some type of capacity through your church or some educational efforts. Well, then you're probably aware of the phenomena of screen time and how infants, toddlers, preschoolers, and all ages are pretty much stuck to the screen. And so what I want to do is I just want to raise the question as to, is this helpful? What effects does it have on the brain? And so I want to share with you some of the scientific knowledge and what some of the research is saying in regards to this topic. So first of all, you have to understand childhood development first and foremost. So what I mean by that is, and you all know that during this time, there's major growth, there's major changes in all different type of levels of life. What I mean is biological, physiological configurations. And so this is the time when children are most impressionable, and it will set the foundation for them for their further relationships, cognitive, emotional, and spiritual development. And so there's a lot of literature that talks about how the inner world of the child and how it is influenced when it interacts with its caregivers and the environment and its experiences. For instance, there's research on the attachment theory about youth in this Romanian orphanage that didn't get much care because they wasn't with their parents. They didn't get much care in this state-run institution. And when they did a longitudinal study, meaning they followed them through the years, they found out that those children typically had higher levels of ADHD and aggressive type behaviors. So I'm saying that to say that experiences shape a child's reality. Basically, what the experience gives, the brain takes. And so this is where I want to start introducing the technology piece and screen time. Why? Well, first of all, we got to take a look at, get ready for this $50 word, neurodevelopment. It's just a fancy word, fancy way of saying how the brain matures and grows. During this time, we don't have enough time to get into all the intricate details, but I will say this, that the brain basically triples in size from the age of 0 to 2. And then this is when we've been designed to have all of our cognitive abilities to start to come online, motor skills, emotional responses, all that sensory capacities, all that good stuff comes online. And so you got to understand that there's a lot of risk factors and protective factors. And risks and protective factors are just different things that either hinder your successful growth or they support your successful growth. And so basically, screen time has effects on the brain. This article by Steven Reinberg tells us that toddlers who spend loads of time looking at tablets, smartphones, TVs, we can even throw in game consoles, may be changing their brains, but not for the better. The director of cognitive neuroscience at Nicholas Children's Hospital in Miami says, watching screens is a passive and two-dimensional process, which is not good for brain development. So let's go under the hood and look at this a little more. Let's look at some of the costs, and then we'll end with some solutions to this problem. So when we take a look at the impact on the brain, Dr. Michael Rich, he's a pediatrician and director of the Center on Media and Child Health at Boston's Children's Hospital, says that the growing brains are constantly building brain cells connections and pruning them away, and digital media screens provide, I quote, impoverished stimulation of developing brains to reality. In particular, it really interferes with sleep and creativity. Now, I thought this sleep piece was pretty important. I want to highlight some things. Interestingly enough, there's a growing body of research on the study of sleep and brain development in young children. Just so that we know, good sleep within this age group actually benefits learning, memory, emotional regulation, and cognitive development. So basically everything that you do. And so this systematic study, they took a whole bunch of studies that studied this particular phenomenon and found out that screen times and sleep outcomes in infants, toddlers, and preschoolers indicated that screen time is associated and correlated with poor sleep outcomes in this same population. So this was evidenced by taking longer times of going to sleep, also shorter sleep duration, so when they do go to sleep, they're more likely to wake up. Also, just once again with more night awakenings as they show. And it also shows us why. The reason why I thought this was pretty interesting is that there's these short wavelengths, so this blue and green lights are emitted, certain short wavelengths that actually suppress melatonin secretion. And this is the sleep hormone. So that may help answer some of the parents if your kiddos are waking up. I know if I've had that problem. I've actually had to adjust how the things me and my wife do with our children because of this type of research. So I thought it would be really good to share with you. So you might want to reevaluate how much time your youth is spending on the screen. So what are the experts saying? So the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends to avoid digital media in children younger. So just avoid it entirely. I don't know how realistic this is for you or practical, but I want you to know what the experts are saying. Any children that is younger than 18 to 24 months should avoid it. I agree with them. They should avoid digital media. And they put an excerpt in here, except when video chatting. Also, you want to limit screen use to 1 hour per day in children that are 2 to 5. We've actually done that. Like you got about 1 hour to, besides, because sometimes we're doing the virtual learning thing now too. So, you got to make it yours. But outside of that, you got 1 hour on screen time, and it needs to be something educational. That's another recommendation. Try if you can, watch with your children. But if you can't, at least make sure that the content that they're watching is something positive. Also, this is a big one. Avoid using media as the only way to calm or soothe your child. So in other words, they're throwing a fit. You want them to be quiet, so you give them a device. That's not a good coping skill. You're not teaching them good coping skills. It's defeating them learning how to self-regulate and have emotional intelligence. So that's why it's very important for you not to use that technique. Be sure to visit the AAP website for the full and more in-depth list of recommendations. So what we're doing and what I'm doing is just raising public awareness about this, the potential consequences to the exposure of screen time on young developing brains. We're talking mainly infants, toddlers, and preschoolers. Also, why? Because this is during a time of rapid growth and development, and what screen time can do is interrupt that development in an unhealthy way, and it causes negative effects on sleep, memory, emotional regulation, all those good things that a lot of kids need in order to develop, because it's going to affect them later when they grow up. Parents should take extra precaution to infant, toddler, and preschool media usage because it's associated with having a negative impact on the brain health. So once again, there's tons of resources on the internet. You want to make sure you want to check something that's science-based. If you really want a place to continue this research, go to the AAP. This is the American Academy of Pediatrics, and they have a lot of information that can help parents in this very topic. Listen, I hope you enjoyed this topic. If to my left and your right, you can subscribe to help support. Also, you can get the latest information on brain science and mental health. Also, there's a link down below the page, and you can see where my website is. You can go there, www.skeltonneurocounseling.com, and you can subscribe to the listserv. All right, I hope this was a blessing for you as it was for me, and I'll check you on the next go around. Peace.